God, this is wild.
I'm
This is wild. Woke up feeling great, bright and early. What time?
great.
5:30 something. Yeah, I love mornings,
Yeah,
man. I love getting
that's
a
what I
full day
do.
of work done by noon. Yeah. Well, are you in a tent now? Where are you?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everybody. We're live with Daniel Rekshan. Bring him onto the stage. Without further ado, my dear friend, fellow British Columbian, and one of my favorite immigrants to Canada from from Canada's Mexico, also known as the United States. It's our Mexico. Just kidding. We're gonna have fun. Okay, you're adding to the stage. Without further ado, the one and only Daniel Rekshan. He was recently featured today in Frater Eleftheria Lifting the Lamps video, not today, but just the other day, about everything going on with this whole situation. It's in the, it's not quite in the news. There's other things going on in the news, but it's fascinating. Why aren't you coming on the screen? There we go. Wait. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Welcome to Magic Without Fears, HERMETIC podcast. I'm your host, Frater RC, and our guest today, coming back for his quadrillionth time, is Daniel Rekshan, and the author of the Book of Galactic Light, Liber Lux Galactica. And it's not letting me add you to the stage. 1 second. It's just being slow, I think. You should be coming in now. Yeah. Let us know in the chat if you can hear us. Make sure that everything sounds good. Live streaming can be finicky. You can comment and chat, and it'll show up on the screen there in the bottom right. And that is very fun. So we can see what you're saying, and you can ask questions, super chat to support the stream, all those things. So that's interesting. It says there's our handsome man.
Hello.
Hey, Roddy. Oh, 1 sec. Now I have to get back on screen.
Great.
It's not liking having both of us on.
It's wild.
Because all you do is click add to stage, and if it doesn't add you, what do you do?
So I heard, what do you do? But you, great.
I'm in a tent. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell us why you're in a tent.
I've moved to the wilderness of British Columbia and built a tiny house dome. It's an icosahedron. So if anyone's familiar with D20s of Dungeons and Dragons, it's like the top bit of that. It's an off-grid situation. I'm setting up solar power and stuff like that. So I'm camping. I set up a tent next to our neighbor who has internet, and I do my officing here until next week. And then Starlink cables come, and I'll have a much different presence. I have a little geometry studio I've been setting up to do geometry with people, and some of the work I do, like with art and creativity in service to dreamwork. So that's really exciting. But right now it's a little tent I'm in. So yeah,
that's great. How's the vibe?
Oh, I love it. I love being here. We're at the top of a hill, so I do a practice called CE5, and that's human initiated contact with space aliens or angels, whatever you call them. So it involves a lot of sky watching. So it is an ideal location. Every single night I step out to go pee, look out at the sky, and see amazing things. So it's really a blessing to be here.
I think CE5 was mentioned by Frater Eleftheria on Lifting the Lamp the other day, and it comes from the U.S. government. Is that correct? Can you tell us about CE5 and what exactly that is?
Yeah, that would be really important to understand if anyone's interested in the intersection of UAP disclosure news and the whistleblowing, and why Enochian was mentioned recently in Frater Eleftheria's thing. CE5 stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. CE is Close Encounters, and that's a designation created by, I believe it was Hynek, or used by Hynek in the Project Blue Book era of UFOlogy. So this is government study of UFOs. last century. They looked into it. They started making designations like CE1 as you see a craft a long time away. CE2 is something else a little bit closer. And then CE4 might be an abduction or something like that. CE5 is a human initiated contact. It was that designation CE5 was created by Dr. Stephen Greer, I believe, who popularized this based on his experience with going down. I believe he went down to the Latin America, had experiences with the Rama network as well, which telepathically received messages from angels and aliens through automatic writing. And so that now is used as a phrase of using your mind to contact space aliens, and is very similar to invocation rituals you might see associated with grimoires a little bit. There's no sigils or anything, but there is a sense of kind of spiritualist seance quality to the action, even if anyone who talks about CE5 says different. So, yeah.
Interesting. And so when did you first start practicing it, and what was so convincing about it that you are still practicing it now? Because we usually don't keep doing things if they don't yield results.
Yes. So the results are complex and interesting, to say the least. So it reveals the complex nature of the UAP phenomenon to me. When it was very familiar to me to use my own dreamwork practice to reach out to wherever to make contact. And so I ran through a practice when I was in grad school the first time about 15 years ago. I didn't know about CE5, but I used something very similar in my dreams. I went to Chaco Canyon and I went to Mortlake in England. And these are places that I thought held resonance with space aliens. So I did my dream work and psychic work there to see what I could pick up. And that set off what you now know as the Book of Galactic Light, that sort of chain of events. That was convincing to me. CE5 is a little bit different. It's looking up at the sky. It's seeing UFOs as omens for the presence of space aliens or something like that. There's complexity there and deceptions and things like that. But the actual practice of invoking celestial beings, I believe, is a human nature, as you experience with your own workings and things like that. We receive complex signs that, yes, indeed, it does work. Sometimes people don't know how to interpret those complex signs and get into very singular interpretations of their experience, and then strange things around like, are UFOs real? Are they not? Are they stealing bodies? Are they not? Those sorts of questions come up. But the actual experience of invoking celestial beings, immaterial, and seeing results come back, that I would say is a common experience that is working.
I forgot if I ever knew that you had gone to Mortlake, to Dr. John Dee's actual home, the little village of Mortlake that he lived in. And that's I guess you must have told me, I'm sure, but I forgot. That's fascinating. So it sounds like you had a similar experience there that I had at Kelly's tower in Prague, where despite having practiced Enochian magic for many years, let's just say it took on a whole new reality when I went there the second time and had an experience in the middle of doing Enochian magic up in the tower, which normally you can't get up to, but they forgot to lock it. And the guide said, go up. I went up, I did some work, and right away, it changed the course of, I don't know if it changed the course of my life, but maybe it certainly redirected my attention, which is, that's the course of your life, I suppose. Our attention determines that. So yeah, you had a powerful experience at Mortlake. That's just absolutely fascinating. What was Mortlake like in modern day? Because it's essentially gone from the version how it was in Dee's time. Is it just a bit of land now? Is it empty?
There's basically nothing there that signifies John Dee ever lived there. So it's a very confusing experience for someone who's like, I had like dreams where past life dreams where I was like, I had a past life in London. I drew it out as whatever, tracked things down. Nothing was there or whatever. So it's all different. It's like I don't know. I a lot of red brick buildings and that sort of thing. Sort of just looks like standard kind of outside of London type stuff. The thing from there I went to was the British Museum, and I like really looked at the show stone, the black one, and his his talisman and things like that, and spent time
The Black
opening my
Mirror.
soul up. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah, up to
Showstone's
that black mirror.
the clear glass one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't know if we doubt it's doubted he used the Black Mirror, but he might have. I think its providence is questioned, but who knows? That's the fun thing about this. We don't always have solid answers, and so we get to seek them in strange places. And there's so much to cover. I honestly don't know how to structure this conversation today, because there's a huge lead we don't want to bury. So maybe we'll just throw ourselves into pure tangentiality and let the spirits take us where they will. And people, ask your questions. We're happy to let questions guide us. So go on YouTube and interact with us there in the live chat and post your questions. And because this is a big deal. The other day, another conference attendee for Enochian reached out, and that was PD Newman, and he was telling me all about Frater Eleftheria's discovery, and how it appeared in this Twitter post by this big whistleblower in the government, and it's caused a big stir on the internet. And he was saying he wanted to maybe adjust his presentation to be about that. And I'm like, well, that's actually Eleftheria's work, and he didn't know that the thing that was posted by this government guy was Eleftheria's work. He didn't know that. So as soon as he knew that, he's like, wow, so we're already embedded in this whole issue. Our whole group is basically already on the just drawn into something very odd. Even the whole event, everything we're doing, it's so odd. Maybe because I haven't had the time, because I'm busy planning the conference and it's crunch time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't had time to deep dive it. I finally watched Eleftheria's video this morning, but all the other stuff, there's so much stuff. Can you maybe explain what's going on and what I'm freaking out about to everybody, so they have an understanding of why I'm so excitable? Because I just started drinking this coffee. It's not caffeine that's making me all frantic. It's the wildness of and timing of this whole thing. I mean, from Galathog to a Biramon, it's so crazy. Okay, the floor is yours, good sir.
Sure. I mean, it is nuts. I have never seen a time like this. I have been looking at UFO disclosure stuff and UFO ET stuff and Enochian stuff since grad school, like 2012 or whatever, actively. I've never seen any amount of stuff like this. And it's a very oblique mention, but we have to sort of like unpack this. It's pretty wild, actually, that it's communicated. And so my personal experience, like, I've been so disconnected from the internet. Like, the angels brought me up to my neighbors. I opened up YouTube. I saw this thing. I was like, oh my God, the Sigillum de Ameth. I recognized Frater Eleftheria's screenshot as the Sigillum de Ameth, not his work or whatever. And then I was deep diving. I was like, is this real? What's going on? I reached out to people. Who's this guy, Matthew Brown? Is he legit? What's going on? All of those questions arose for me. And at first, I thought this was complete deception. I thought it was melodrama. I thought it was just another whatever in the BS cycle of UFOlogy. I thought it was another thing like that. But then I thought, the angels are making me look at this because they invoke the name of Galathog or whatever. That's like my dream guides are like, they're like, you cannot do that. And it's like, don't you know, like, you've now just like attached me to that forever, right? In that moment of seeing that name Galathog associated there, just because of my work with Galathog, the Gray's Field Guide to Anomalous Geometry and stuff like that. Anyways, we need to back up and talk about who Matthew Brown is and why this is significant. Matthew Brown is one of many of what people might call the parade of government whistleblowers. So since maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there's been a returning of whistleblowers. Government whistleblowers are coming forward and saying there's a secret government study of UFOs. UFOs are real. Aliens are real. There's alien bodies. They're being hid. There's reverse engineered technology. This is a common myth that's been spun since 47 or whatever. So in this recent one, about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks, maybe a month ago, there was a submission of a document called the Immaculate Constellation Report. And that reported on recent, within the last several years, activity of the government from a well-credentialed whistleblower, meaning someone who works within the Department of Defense, has enough credentials that they can prove, and is talking about a theory that, or an understanding of the universe that's very esoteric. It's very much in line with what we might talk about on these podcasts, but is in the context of this sort of nuts and bolts psyops sort of UFOlogy activity. So he released a very cryptic tweet, maybe on the 5th. It's on the 5th, July 5th. And the cryptic tweet is addressed to Elon Musk. It talks about AI. It talks about secret government programs. And there were 4 images attached. One of the image was of Frater Eleftheria's discovery of a Borymon in the Sigilum de Ameth god names or whatever. So as you spell out things like Galathog, right, there's 7 of those names on the outer circumference. If you follow this, if you go through the magical blind with a Y with a 1415, and then you interpret some, I think it's an A with 666 instead of 6, you get a Borymon, which is what Frater Eleftheria discovered and shared. The fact that a government whistleblower is even talking about Enochian is really interesting, but the fact that he's talking about this discovery, it means he's paying attention to Enochian, and it's meaningful, and it's related to the whole situation, is sort of my conclusion. And so I've been looking into it. It's like, what is this? Well, how do you decode it? I'm putting forward the hypothesis the report he submitted to Congress is a ciphertext, and the Sigilum Borymon thing is a cipher key. So we would derive, like, the Trithemis's angel letters or whatever, or angel communications and stuff like that, where there's cryptography actually in there. That's a hypothesis I put forward. I'm not sure if it actually will pan out, but in any case, it's very interesting, and I've been watching this since. I mean, so I'd love to hear any questions you might have about it or any reflections.
Yeah. What's the reaction been like in the I don't want to say the alien world or the UFO world, but in the I don't want to even say conspiracy world. What's the reaction to that post been like? Have you seen it? Because it seems so far out to me, it would make me think a lot of people would then just write him off and dismiss him, especially his Twitter handle is son of Abramelin, and we're streaming live on Twitter right now, or on X. Sorry, Elon. We're why not? The StreamYard allows us. We're live on Twitch, X, Kick, Facebook, you name it. Did they, so it didn't cause people to write him off, this Enochian magic appearing in his post? It seems like
most
people are very excited about it.
Yes. So the couple things I can say is the post itself has about 1 million views on it, like 1 million views on the Sigilum de Ameth image. So then,
good timing for our conference, eh?
Yeah, the Frater Eleftheria's
too bad he didn't link
video. It. I know he got 8,000 views in like a day. So 8,000 views in like a day on a derivation from Sigilum de Ameth is nuts. This means it's like on fire. We've never seen Enochian material in the public eye this way. It's like 1 million views on that thing, and 8,000 of those people were like, "Yeah, I'll look that up. I'll check out a Borymon." And there's been hundreds. I probably scanned through 3,000 comments about Enochian on stuff. People going, "Is this real?" Whatever. Like, they're talking to Angel like, "Magic's is real. This is bullshit," right? But most people go, "Huh, there's something here. I wonder what that is. Let's pay attention to what Frater Eleftheria has to say." And Frater Eleftheria said some stuff and is sort of interpreting it. So that's really hopeful. I mean, people are really considering it. One of the reasons why is because of the parade of whistleblowers, which is totally a coordinated experience. And the fact is, half of those whistleblowers are adjacent to intelligence community members who have run PSYOPs before. So it is a PSYOP, if you would, this parade of whistleblowers. They're architecting it in a way that the audience of this PSYOP is sensitive now to this, right? They've slowly boiled the fish, and they're introduced CE5 as an idea. Now they're using the term psionics, and now they dropped in a little bit of Enochian and see what happens in that mixture. And turns out the people who are following it are liking it. That's my interpretation. I go, that's like, I can't see anything. A lot of times people are like, I'm so sick of talking about this Enochian. Let's talk about the actual government programs he's whistleblowing on, right? Like I've seen a couple of posts like that. And I'm like, wow, actually, that's cool.
People are talking about Enochian so much that they're even getting Save It already. That's amazing. I mean, I don't know what to make of this, of course. Eleftheria's video on his lifting the lamp on YouTube from the other day, where he does shout out the conference and gives talks a lot about you and talks about other. I mean, it's got, I think it's almost 20,000 views in just 3-4 days. And it's really great that his channel has done so well, even though he's told me it's mostly, a lot of it's angry Christians coming to debate his demon retirement from demon workings. And so it's like, well, traffic is traffic. All press is good press. So even if you're just having Christians yell at you, it's better than no one yelling at you, I suppose. I don't know, but I don't know what to make of it all. Like, what's the connection between a Borimon and the and UAPs?
Okay, so I have only speculation at this point and some experience to talk about. And so there's two modes of connection I'm tracking. One is through Dr. John D. So Dr. John D was the source of what we understand to be psychic spying, right? Like that is one interpretation of his work with Elizabeth. That's one interpretation of his initiations, associated with Amonis and it's like scrying or whatever. I don't see actual tons of evidence of him perceiving things from afar and sharing it, right? But this is a sort of archetype, let's say, is John D as an archetype for psychic spying. That's why I started to look into John D, is because psychic spying is related to remote viewing. Remote viewing is actually related to UAP disclosure and UAP ideas, UFOlogy. It's a secret underpinning of that. People might be familiar with the name Lou Elizondo. He was famous because of the 2017 New York Times article that reported on the secret government programs. Everyone said, hey, these are nuts and bolts UFOs. We've got them in lockers in Area 51, whatever. This guy, Lou Elizondo, seemed very much like a physicalist, mechanistic kind of understanding. And he recently published a book, Imminent, where he talked about light bodies and remote viewing, and it's all very Scientology or derived, right? So Hal Puthoff is a former Scientology and director of or influencer of government psychic spying programs that then in turn informed Lou Elizondo's work and other things like that. So there's this very complicated literary tradition, I believe, from John D forward, involving an intersection of psychic activity and intelligence community activity. And it may be continuous and it may not. And one of the way it goes underground, and one of the places it comes up is through Scientology by way of the connection of the Babylon working in 1947, which is Frater Eleftheria talked about in his explanation. And he goes, in the post, he mentioned 1947, which is also the year of Roswell or whatever. So there's a number of ways that connect in. So historically, that's how I would see that coming in, is the connection of Enochian. People who are interested in UFOs are often interested in the occult or vice versa. And there's definitely a secret intersection there that kind of pulls the strings in some content creation activities within the UFO disclosure community. So that's the historic connection with Enochian that I'm interested in. The contemporary connection comes from, I believe, its metaphoric value, right? So Brown in the tweet references what I believe is Palantir. So that's the tech company in charge of surveillance. It took over recently. The deduction here is that Palantir is associated with the Immaculate Constellations program. Palantir is actually from, the name comes from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and it is a seeing stone. It's like a black show stone, right? So it is that for us in the imagination, and so it's very much. If you look, Elon Musk, by the way, like worked with Palantir's chairman in the past, right? There's like a whole bunch of drama around that, a whole bunch of drama around the actual military contracts for their surveillance of the UAPs. We know Bigelow was running one database. Now the deduction or the decoding of this tweet suggests to me, and I don't know, is being managed by Palantir or people associated with that. So there's both thematic connections in the occult nature, but actually, literally, truly, if you just look at what he's talking about, he's pointing to something like a magical showstone, literally. So I find that fascinating. Right.
I didn't realize Palantir had anything to do with potential UAP or outer space flying objects. I thought Palantir was all about tracking us and spying on the
Well,
population. So I haven't.
so the connection between as above, so below, right? So as occultists, we
Right.
understand as above, so below. So I talk about the complex ways of knowing and experiencing associated with UAPs. If you read between the lines, there's it's a mixture of delusion, fantasy proneness, magicality, magical thinking, actual encounters. It's a mixture. And so the history of why the US government is interested in UFO reports, in what's in the sky, is because there's a long history of secret government programs of putting things up there that look like UFOs. There's a recent Wall Street Journal post that everyone's up in arms about, saying, oh, that's disinformation, that's disinformation. But it really reveals the government is actually interested in UFO reports because those are leaks of sensitive data. Everyone knows that, but you go, who is actually paying attention to those reports? Who is actually doing that work? And I would guess Palantir is doing that now. I don't have any data on that, nor do I want to encounter data about that. That's one of the reasons why I go, hey, there's a ciphertext here, but I'm not going to decode it. I'm not even going to try to incipher or decipher these things. I'm very clear about that. But so there's a long-standing connection. The intelligence community embeds operatives in the UFO community. They just do it. There's documentaries about it. I sound like a conspiracist telling people this. Like there's no way to actually sound not like a crazy person when I make those claims, but anyone who wants to can look up the documentation.
Yeah, I don't think I can't imagine anyone being surprised or doubting that they embed people everywhere in everything. And like Elizondo is interesting because I especially since the government disclosures in 2020, I got more interested in the aliens and UAP thing, which I probably would have gotten into it sooner. It's just I honestly never thought there was anything to it. I'm a very skeptical person, and I like to prove things as much as I can to myself before I really put any weight into them. And so I started paying more attention and watching documentaries, especially since we were locked down and we couldn't go anywhere, right? So I had lots of time to look into everything I wanted that first year of lockdown, especially. And of course, we did a long lockdown up here, so I had tons of time to look at lots of things for almost 3 years. But in that time, I watched a bunch of Elizondo stuff, and some stuff seemed really good and convincing, but a lot of people were saying he's just a psyop and that's it. So with people like him and Putoff, do you think that they are one or the other, or are they always a mixture? Are they usually a mixture of like there's some truth and they know some truths, and then therefore they write books on bodies of light and remote viewing, or is it all? Do you think they're all bad actors? I mean, how do we parse this out? I mean, clearly, just even trying to describe the question I have makes me sound a little unhinged, and that is definitely the intention of all psyops, right? That is exactly what they're going for, and they probably love that all of us esotericists are now jumping on this and spreading our own thoughts into it, because that just makes it even more labyrinthine to deduce. So what's your take on people like Putoff Elizondo, like who do you, how much credibility do you give them, or in what areas do you give them credibility and why? I didn't watch the Put Off interview on Rogan recently. I've never really listened to Put Off, so I don't know much about him, but watched a lot of Elizondo stuff in the documentaries
Yeah.
on, streamers.
So, how do we interpret this? And I'll answer the question perhaps as a practitioner of magic first. The angels that I spoke with through the Book of Galactic Light have told me that yes, there is indeed deception coming from those sources, but we as people who practice these paths of mysticism and magic have the opportunity to transmute the deceptions put forward into something beautiful and meaningful. And so last year in Enochian, I invited everyone to consider a transmutation ritual involving the transmutation of it's defined as the 4 traumata of alien abduction as defined by John E. Mack into the 4 empowerments of shamanic dreaming. I asked everyone to consider that as a ritual to perform with their magical skills. And so that's a way I would invite your audience to consider decoding some of these things, or interpreting or discerning, is to turn back to themselves, to use their own path of magicality, to engage their own means of discernment. Personally, the understanding I have is that and this comes from the ARROW report, which is the All Domain, All Anomaly Resolution Office from the U.S. government. They, Sean Kirkpatrick, and everyone's going to give me flack from the UFO community for even quoting him, but he says there's a small group of dedicated believers who reject scientific evidence, which is the source of the alien hypothesis in these whistleblowing claims. And so there is a sort of thing that has gone out of control in the PSYOP narrative. And this is kind of complex, and I'm going to answer your question about Lou Elizondo. But there's been PSYOP on top of PSYOP that have involved remote viewing and psychic behaviors of humans that are not well understood. And so there's a compounding factor where, like, egregores or whatever, or paranormality or poltergeists are coming out and tricking people, right? If you read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, there's no evidence for UFOs, but there's a lot of evidence for poltergeisting space tricksters, right? Who actually do things. Actually, there's real things there to report on and study. They're not space aliens and spacecraft coming down and doing the things that we imagine they do. And so there's 2 or 3 things happening. There's a lot of complexity. The thing that people testify to is often not the reality that is actually there. And so it's sort of like working with John Dee's texts, where you go, what is real? What's not? Where's the deception? Where's the encryption? We don't know, right? Like, so, and yet in my experience of working with Enochian, right, I don't know the whole decoding things or the very specific things, but I did the practice, and the reality of the angels came and connected with me. In the same way, the government is using talisman or sigils, let's say, of UFOs in entity encounters, and is summoning something's actually happening. I don't know who knows what's going on. I suspect there's a couple key players that have studied things like we have studied and are applying them in ways that may have ethical implications, or how someone is a mystic, and then when they choose to enact their will, they're a magician, and then they do something else. They're like, I don't know what you would call them. So there's a mix of all of that. I hope I'm clearly responding to your question. I'm trying my best. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm learning a lot, as I always do from you. So, yeah, oh God, where do I go from here? I hope some listeners have some questions, because it's so overwhelming, all of this stuff, and also so fun. So that's distracting too. But where do I go from here? What what is the question that I should be asking here? What are the questions? What are the questions people should be asking? There's my question. What are the questions people should be asking to maybe cut through some of the noise and
Yeah.
find their mechanisms, their internal capacities for deduction and understanding? What's the hermeneutic horizon? There you go. You're doing your PhD right now. There's a PhD phrase for you.
Yeah. So like how to cut through this stuff, how to engage that. I mean, one of the questions you asked about Lou Elizondo, right? And it's like, how do you make sense of this? What is the process of that? Go. There are clearly lies. There are clearly lies and deceptions. I would invite anyone who is contemplating these things to check out the channel Lou Reviews, Lureviews. Lou Reviews. It's not Lou Elizondo, it's someone else, and he has a story to tell, and that's a compelling story about disinformation and things like that. Recently, Lou Elizondo was there. They shop around these UFO photos, which turn out to be like a reflection of a chandelier or an aerial photo of a irrigation circle, and they have these anomalies that make it look like maybe that's a UFO, but then some smart guy goes like, "Oh no, it's actually a reflection." So that sort of activity is happening, and the question for me is, how and why is that permitted? Like, I would invite anyone who's interested in UFOlogy to go through one of these, select one of the major 3 videos from the 2017 report, select anything Lou Elizondo has said, and then track what people analyze and how they analyze it. Find an example where you're convinced, yeah, this isn't a UFO, this is a reflection. It's not hard to do. And then ask the question, why did this happen? How could Lou Elizondo, a smart person, put this out? How could the people around him put this out? They're smart people. They have access to analysts to do this. I have developed an open source system to analyze UFO footage to gain insight from it that has helped me identify a number of things, including Chris Bledsoe's major sighting in the UFO of God. He's another major experiencer. I demonstrate its Intelsat 29E with the help of Dr. Michael Earle from the Royal Canadian Military College. We figured that out. So the question then is, why are they permitted to continue their disinformation? And so I asked that question myself, and it made me understand that there is something else going on. It is occult in nature, and there is a sort of ceremony ritual thing to do something to other people, manage perceptions. When I worked with the Bledsoe case and the UFO of God, I communicated with Jim Semivan. I sent him an email. I sent Colonel John Alexander an email. I sent Bledsoe an email. I sent his government handler, David Rodwell, an email. I've sent the experience of the academics, Darren King and Sean Esbjorn Hargens, who were present there, an email. I've had response from about half of them that have acknowledged my finding and Dr. Michael Earle's finding that that satellite was indeed Intelsat 29E, and everyone is lying about it. And I have documentation that they have been lying about it because I go, hey, here's a space professor. He wrote his thesis on identifying these things. He identified it. It is no longer an unidentified aerial phenomena. It is an identified geosynchronous satellite that had a fuel leak 3 years ago and is now there, because that's why it's not in your databases or whatever. And so we've had that. And so I go, why is Chris Bledsoe still an advisor to one of the major studies in my institute about experiencers? Why is he a major case study and advisor to the WISER study put forward by the California Institute for Human Sciences? I asked them that question when I went into my leave of absence, which is an ethical leave of absence around these issues. I still have to know, because Chris Bledsoe's stories are manipulative and they lead to confusion. And I know that because people communicate with me about them. And so I ask these questions: why is this happening and how is this happening? And those questions have driven me to my inquiry and doing this work and a deeper understanding of the phenomena than I ever believed I would get to, where I'm seeing through these deceptions and to the truth of the matter. So I'd invite your listeners to just go through the work themselves, and one or two major UFO sightings will reveal this to you. And if you use your mind that loves John Dee stuff, right? Like the John Dee loving mind who goes like, well, did he say this there? What about this? What about the Rose brothers in Prague or whatever? Like that sort of mind is just enough to reveal the whole thing to you. And so I'm really interested to see this new influx of Enochian inspired people perhaps looking into UFO stuff because of this tweet, because of Frater theory, because of Aborimon, because of all of these things, because I'm curious to see what that would reveal. It was a bit of a long, heated answer to another question.
Do you have any sense of where this is going to go, where this is going to lead to? Do you have an intuitive or educated guess on that?
There's multiple factions. Yep. Multiple factions associated with this. There is a kind of a literary tradition of UFO, whistleblowing, whatever, psyop thing. There's a revolving door as to who the participants are. And so there's a number of different embedded, intersecting motivations. So there's one I see is someone out there actually believes in magic. Someone actually believes in magic. And someone believes that deception around UFOs and entity encounters will lead to a greater magical presence or power. They're using the term psionics now. They're using the term psionics. It's not, they wouldn't say magic, they say psionic. And so they're using the control of perception to manage some of those activities in some way, shape, or form.
I have the best text on psionics that's ever been written. Have you seen it?
No, show me. Oh, good. Oh, good. Yes.
It's the complete handbook for psionics.
That's good. Well, you know what? Actually, so here's the thing.
I keep it close by.
That's good. If the stuff around the Palantir connection is true, that might actually be extremely relevant, right? Like Palantir,
the complete psionics handbook from AD&D.
Yeah, because that
really?
likely informed. Yes, I swear to God, Peter Thiel.
Oh, okay.
Look him up.
I see where you're going.
He's the reason why Palantir is named Palantir. He's the reason why. I mean, he played D&D and Lord of the Rings. He's like a nerd like us or whatever. So he's likely played AD&D, likely read that psionics manual. Look at Jesse Michaels. He's a sponsored content creator. He's sponsored by the Peter Thiel, to be honest. He's literally a Peter Thiel employee.
We should get sponsored by Peter Thiel.
Well, I'm going to send an email after this within a day or two. Good. So to be honest, that's what Decoding Brown's tweet said to me. I go, wow, there's a lot of overlap here. I'm really interested in this work now. And so I'm going to reach out, but we'll see how that goes. Peter Thiel played D&D. Yeah.
If any of those big guys were into the occult in a serious way, I could see, Peter Thiel would probably be one of them, right? If he's actually, he seems like, how can you create a company like that? Maybe he is just a geek. Maybe it's just geekery. But, given what the information he has access to, how could he have not tried some of these remote techniques or governmental techniques or methods? And it seems like a lot of these people must have at least somewhat dabbled or considered dabbling in some of it. And also there's the fact that they're so interested in psychedelics as well, right? So they're DMT, hyperspace, the spice, and all of that ties into it as well. And so once, there's a lot of evidence there to suggest that they are very open to the exact same sort of spirit world, shall we say, that a traditional Enochian magician would be open to. And the fact that a lot of these, you work with beings that are, I don't even know the term to call them, but Enochian beings that also have a register in the UAP context. I apologize for not being the best at this lingo and stuff. Sure. In another life, I would have gone full on into the ufology and all of that stuff. If I'd had an experience when I was young, I would have been like, oh, I'm screwed. I'm going to have to study this and nothing else the rest of my life. But I didn't. I had magical experiences, and I never actually thought those two would meet. And I didn't think psychedelics had anything to teach us about that stuff either. I thought it was just chemicals in the brain, because that was the era I was raised in the 80s, and then the 90s dare thing, this is your brain on drugs. And like, if you smoke pot, you'll die. That was very much, or anything, it was, a very crazy time. but now, of course, I have grown up and experienced more things, and the intersection of the UAP disclosure with my initial experiences with DMT during the beginning of lockdown. Now it's like it formed a triangle flying through space,
Yep.
you know, and there's this
Yeah. So
harmony and intersection that is absolutely thrilling, and makes it hard to not be excited to be alive, if I'm being frank. It's very
yeah.
heartening and fun.
Yeah, so I have something to report back. So the Enochian last year, we had a great time online.
That was great.
PD Newman, Philip Daniel Newman. I'm Daniel Philip Rekshan. He talked about DMT and the Enochian stuff, and then Terry Burns and Alan Moore talked about Alan Moore's UFO site. Like, oh my God, like so much overlap there happened. Then my life sort of went crazy right after the Enochian, and I started to do this like crisis of faith stuff. I started to get in that not conflict, but the sort of ethical leave of absence kind of process with my school. And then sometime in the summer, I went to Sail Mountain, the CE5 experience. So my Book of Galactic Light experience. So the reason why I did the etheric rituals of John Dee, right, was because I went to Sail Mountain outside of Revelstoke with my first client, Dan Berg, my first missing time client, Dan Berg. And we did a CE5 on top of Sail Mountain, saw amazing stuff, cool stuff happen, poltergeisty things, whatever. During that time, a spirit came to me while everyone else saw a UFO and told me it was like John Dee and I needed to do these things or whatever and do the ritual. And I was like, sure, all right, let's do it. And so then I did the ritual. I wrote the Book of Galactic Light. I then wrote Missing Time Found. That led directly in Galathog, the Great's Field Guide to Anomalous Geometry, and all of that kind of put forward the D-SETI Dream Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute idea, basically. So that all directly came from a CE5 experience on Sail Mountain. After Enochian, I was invited to go to CE5 on Sail Mountain just like a crazy synchronicity. I had like submitted a 200-page document about my ethical concerns. My buddy Dan Berg goes, "Hey, whatever, like come over." It was like, "Oh my God, you're doing a CE5? Let's do it." It's like just worked out. I ended up the mountain. I ended up listening to podcasts by Eric Wargo, who talked about dream loops. So time loops, causal loops through dreams. It's like the Oedipus thing where you get a prophecy, you take action, and you fulfill the prophecy. So he wrote all about that. I listened to that going up the mountain. I didn't see anything whatsoever in the sky, but I did have a DMT experience that was super profound, super dreamlike. And I spent all the summer beforehand doing lucid dream practices. So I used those lucid dream practices to take off, let's say, in the DMT experience. And then I came down off the mountain, listened to the time loop podcast thing, and it was like, this is literally just a DMT inspired dream loop. All of my books. I presented a stack of books to Dan on that mountain and then to DMT or whatever. And it was just like nuts. I was like, a UFO didn't cause that. Those lights in the sky were not caused by space aliens. Those lights in the sky I saw 4 years ago that inspired 4 books were caused by me smoking DMT and doing lucid dream practices on top of that mountain 4 years in the future. That's the conviction I have. I still am convinced, yes, space aliens exist, but this is actually the key to the manifestations we're seeing. So that for me was a key moment. I don't know how to parse that out, but I needed to report back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. There's 2 things I want to touch on there. One is about how last year at Enochian, it was fabulous that, I mean, obviously I included you in that because how could I? I mean, it's thrilling for me when creating a magical esoteric conference, I want it, especially Enochian, with Dee and Kelly as the overarching theme. Though presentations from related currents of esotericism and Western occultism are very welcome, of course. It's good to have a theme, right? Plus Elizabethan is fun, we ever get enough members, we'll have an Elizabethan banquet added to the conference each year. And we already have Shakespeare in the Park right here, and we'll make it as it's gonna be a creative, multi. The way conferences are always are often a little lacking in creativity, shall we say, and artistic inclusion, and that's something I think that we can fix by being extramural and not academic, strictly speaking. So last year that led to Alan Moore, J. Alan Moore, Terry Burns's husband, changing his presentation from his long developed system of Enochian practice out of his work as a Golden Dawn adept and out of his many life experiences. And he changed his presentation at the last minute to share something he had never shared before. And it was his story, his experience, which you can go still you can still take you can still attend last year's conference as a course on our website, folks. And so there was a heavy dose of UAP stuff last year, which was really fun and nice, because most esoteric conferences don't have any of that. Usually it's excluded out of hand, just like psychedelics used to be excluded out of hand from a lot of esoteric or witchy conferences, and they still are often, especially given the laws of some places, and people get uncomfortable talking about it. But we're doing this in Vancouver, Canada, where literally a block from here, there's a big awning outside of a shop that says DMT, peyote, 2CB, and mushrooms, and you can get everything you want. Like, we may be quite close to that shop at our conference, shall we say. It's an undisclosed location, of course, because we want to avoid being hassled. But yeah, this is the city to do that in. So including you was really exciting, and I'm glad how it's led to this year and the crazy lineup of presenters we have. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was your offhand remark about poltergeist experiences. But before we do that, how about we just give our kind viewers a quick little glimpse of what to expect of EnochiaCon this year, and we'll just play this 1 minute long ad for that, and we'll be right back with you. Thanks very much, everyone, and enjoy this trailer.
Canada's only occult conference returns this July 11th to 13th. EnochiaCon is an opportunity to come together with leading scholars of esotericism and practitioners of Western occultism in a friendly and open environment in Vancouver, Canada. This year in 2025, with presentations by an amazing group of presenters, including Dr. Justin Sledge, Dr. Terry Burns, Father Aaron Leach, Dr. Sasha Chato, Frater Eleftheria of Lifting the Lamp, Dr. David Litwa, Chris Trenholm, Daniel Rekshan, David Rankine, Ike Baker, and P.D. Newman. You can also attend live online and experience premier presentations of cutting-edge research and discoveries, and experience beautiful British Columbia. Register to become a member, and you also get included 2 upcoming winter workshops and access to Dr. Sasha Chato's phenomenal year-long undergraduate level course to introduce you to the academic study of Western esotericism. This is not even available at universities at the undergraduate level, but will be included now for everyone who registers to EnochiaCon 2025 before July. Tarry not and sign up today. Go to EnochiaCon.com or ArcaneResearchSociety.com for more information.
So there you have it. We're gonna try and get a live stream together very soon, like this week or next, with you, P.D. Newman, and Frater Eleftheria. We're all on board. It seems we just need to schedule time. We got Eleftheria's in Australia, so we'll figure it out, because it's, I think, a top priority, because everyone wants to talk about this and everyone has something to say about this. And between the three of you, we got Eleftheria, who made the Enochian discovery. Aaron Leach did too, but they both made it independently, of course, at different times. So that's fascinating in itself. Aaron Leach will be here too, of course. Maybe we'll get him on the live stream as well if he has time. But And then you have PD Newman, this expert on the entheogenic aspect, in you with your specialty, and I think it just needs to be just talk to it as much as possible, because these moments don't come along too often where there's this flash in the pan of revelation, insight, and excitement to look at these things. But what I want to know about is the poltergeist experiences, because I don't think I've ever really had those, and I love how offhandedly you were like, "Oh yeah, these happen." What happened?
Oh, so I just mean poltergeisty, meaning by way of poltergeisty, I mean there is paranormal manifestations that are presumed to be caused by some spirit of some sort. That's what I mean. So in these things, there are blips of light. So in the CE5 experiences, the most poltergeisty stuff I see is like electronic manipulation, like from devices, or we bring radios out. It's sort of like EVP, electronic voice communication phenomena. And so that's the sort of thing I refer to when I mean poltergeisty. Is this sort of,
yeah,
people are like, oh, what's that? Oh, there's a thing moving over
yeah.
there. Or there's not rapping on the walls. Oh, this thing's warmer than that thing. Like there's a host of paranormal manifestations associated with it. I don't pay too much attention to those, to be honest. And so I casually go, whatever, poltergeisty. And that I use that phrase because the Bigelow work is understood. Most people have understood the Bigelow studies space poltergeists, like somewhere that was like a phrase associated with his studies. Space poltergeists. I don't think it was a kind of association. But I end up thinking about poltergeists a lot because they're presumed to be like evil spirits, but then like turns out to be like moody teenagers that have powerful, I don't know, spirit presences. This is probably not the like an appropriate way to summarize all of that, but it's probably really I don't know, but that was my understanding of poltergeisting. Hey, Kodega. Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched your interview with Kodega Codex. People should check out Kodega's Codex of Curiosities on YouTube. Yeah, and we're building bridges here. So then I have experienced poltergeist experiences for sure, if that's how they're defined. Usually when people tell me about them, they're like, "Oh, books are flying off my shelves all the time," and I'm like, "Well, film it, show me." They're like, "Oh, I can't." It's like, okay, and then and the reason I say stuff like that is because I tend to, when I say I haven't seen stuff like that, I tend to get sort of people like to diss me a bit. They're like, "Oh, well, if you've never, that's crazy. How could you have never seen something like that?
Yeah.
How could you not have things flying around your apartment all the time? That seems strange. You must be a fraud, right, or a charlatan, because you don't have things, you're not levitating every morning out of bed." And so there's that attitude around that stuff. So yeah, it's like, folks, if you have stuff happening all the time, grab a camera, film it. Lots of people do that, and then they put it online, and we're like, "Oh, yep, that's what that is. That looks pretty real." Obviously, most people will think it's fake, but that's fine. That's fine. First, when Bob, the occult detective, pointed out his apparition video to me on his YouTube, I watched. I was like, "Oh yeah, that looks like an apparition. It walks by, and then it starts walking toward the camera, and you get really unnerved." And he's like, "This is the only one we've caught like this." And yeah, it's not a waste of time to try and do that stuff. We started filming our Enochian rituals a few years ago during lockdown, me and my my fellow practitioner, and unfortunately we made a few mistakes with all of our filmings. There's weird talking going on, but we were doing it in too low light to see, so we decided to go back to the drawing table. So more of that to come for sure. But the poltergeist experiences I've had, like when I did my big Halloween ritual Samhain ceremony, I did a big ritual setup, all the bells and whistles, 12-hour long ritual, including on 5-6 grams of mushrooms, which was unusual. It's an unusual thing for me to do. Well, never done something like that, but I was doing a ritual to help get me off of being a 2-pack a day smoker. And sure enough, I've been off since then, and just do the nicotine-free vaping now, because why? I love it, and life's short. You got to enjoy life. So that was my journey, but I set up 3 cameras. 3 cameras. None of them worked. Even my phone camera,
Wow.
at one point in the ceremony, I double checked them, like, it wouldn't let me press any of the buttons. They were all fully charged. They were fully plugged in. This wasn't my first rodeo trying to do stuff like this. So I was, otherwise you don't set up 3 cameras if you haven't tried this before, right? And had things go weird. And so, but none of them worked. Like, there's no footage from this event, from this 12-hour ritual. I tried to take it, and, like, you know, the ceiling opened up with portals of colors because it was a massive dose of shrooms, right? Massive. But the devices all fritzed out. They didn't work. It was absolutely nuts, and it almost caused me to have kind of a bad trip. Then I just had to say fuck it and focus on the magic I was doing. And it was a powerful 12-hour ritual. It was quite the sunset to sunrise experience. And you got to do those once in a while. They're very initiatory, right? But mainly, I also wanted to return to Vancouver after my quarantine in the forest. At Chris Bennett's Psychedelic Retreat Center, where I did my quarantine, and I wanted to, get off the cigs, and that was the main result. Thank God, praise be the Lord.
That's great. Congrats.
So, yeah, well, why? Just I couldn't. It's so weird when devices that always work just stop working after you start rituals. That's weird. Why does that happen? That's crazy. That
happens in
calling it
CE5.
poltergeist makes sense to me. I didn't realize that was called poltergeist. So cool.
Don't quote me on
Yeah,
that. I don't quote me on. I'm sort
Well,
of
it makes sense.
associative here.
It's a good
That
word for
happens
it.
in
It's a good
CE5.
word.
That happens. That's a common.
Yeah?
That's a common situation. People film CE5s so they can get UFO footage and stuff like that. And they go, oh, I saw the beautiful ship, and then when I checked, it stopped recording right before the ship happened or whatever. And it's like, I actually believe those stories most of the time. There does seem to be weird things happening with batteries and cameras and stuff like that. I filmed my Enochian working, the Book of Galactic Light. I put it out on YouTube. I filmed 2 shortwave radios, which is a practice with CE5 practitioners. They're tuned to the same frequency. So if one goes off and the other doesn't, it's alleged that something fishy is happening. So the chitter chatter that comes through these shortwave radios that are tuned to a specific frequency is said to be something like a paranormal activity. So I filmed that. I have 30 days of that. Sort of only once or twice did it fritz out. And there are some manifestations there that I find to be really interesting. They're felt to be sort of like table rapping communications and stuff like that. It's all filmed. I've tried decoding some of those chitterings and stuff like that, and that actually led me to I was looking for a comparison sample to actually decode those transmissions, and I looked to the Monroe Institute UFO. That's the Chris Bledsoe UFO of God Intelsat 29E thing I mentioned earlier. So this is a major sighting in contemporary UAP lore, which I've debunked or whatever, and that Dr. Michael Earl debunked, let's say. The reason why I was looking into that was to compare those flashes in the sky with the communications I saw in the Book of Galactic Light workings that came through the shortwave radios I filmed. So it's sort of, for me, is kind of altogether this sort of activity, or this is like hitting the mark. The fact that you're talking about communications or not, devices not working in the same way that C5 practitioners are talking about that is meaningful to me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's significant. It's a huge data point for sure, especially since you can, it's one of the most reliable things you can. It's almost one of the most reliable magical effects we can achieve is malfunctioning technology. Right? It might not seem that fascinating to some people, not as much as like, a spirit manifesting in some way, but how is that not a spirit manifesting? How is that not maybe the flood of daimones filling our sphere and our environment, and all these spirits which make up reality going haywire, getting energized and excited, and just being too much for the technology to handle. It's fascinating. Like what a simple way to experiment with your magic is see if you can cause your cameras to stop working. I mean, that seems like a valid occult science experiment you could run a lot and track, right? What are some of the other exciting things going on? And I want to lead up. Maybe you can tell me some of what's happened in the last year, some of the most stuff, the news from the ground, as it were, and also what's going on with your program and how's that going to turn out with your academic work? What is an I don't really know what an ethical leave is.
It's something I invented. It's something I invented bureaucratically so this is crazy to me what happened. This is the angels really forced me to do this. I hated this. It's like the worst thing ever. So I you know how like Jason Louv talks about doing the Aethers on I don't know, acid for a night and then his life fell apart or whatever. That's
he mentions that on Midnight Gospel on Netflix. He mentions
right
that in
after
Midnight Gospel.
Like after Enochian, I did that. I actually, if I ask someone to do magic, I will do that magic myself. So I invited the angels to work with me to do this transmutation ritual. And so they basically, I stopped being able to practice at all. Like I work with people in one-to-one. I do dream work and hypnosis. And most of the people are experiencers of missing time associated with UFO and ET contact. And they're looking to go, what happened in that period of time? I don't remember. That's 8 hours long. And there was a light in the sky and a mark on my body afterwards and space alien dreams before, during, and after. Am I an abductee or not? So they come to me and I go, let's work on it. I apply traditional kind of regression hypnosis techniques that have been used to elucidate these things that we now understand to be false memories of alien abduction. So I use that to explore these things, but I use it as shamanic dream work. And so I talk to people about it. I talk about the difference between false memory, suggestion, hypnosis, dream work. I have a long consultation. It's a really powerful work. You can see some of my work online if you type in Daniel Rekshan and Sandra Newman. She published some of our regression for that sake. That's a really classic example for me. So I was doing that work, and most of the time people are like okay with the fact that I understand hypnosis to be dream work, but they actually really just want validation about their ET experience. They go, am I an abductee too? Am I special? Like, are my like sleep paralysis dreams actually that I'm a chosen starseed from the Pleiades who has a hybrid that has psychic skills to take down the Cabal? And basically I go, yeah, you are a powerful person with magical skills and guidance around you. And tell me about how that guidance helps you discern your own experiences. And they go, oh, actually, it wasn't a UFO. That was my guidance coming to me. And I can connect through prayer. And I go, wow, that's wonderful. We don't need to be abducted for that. That's great. And that's how it works for me generally. Somewhere around last year, I lost faith in what I was doing and I stopped being able to practice. I did not make any money whatsoever. I could not pay my tuition bills. And I went, why can't I do this? And I go, I don't believe in this stuff anymore. And I've been talking about my crisis of faith for 9 months publicly in my academic record. And I was given a 4.0. And I go, if these things lead to where I think they are, there's a system of deception that uses academia and academic research and authoritative research in an exploitative cycle of producing harmful false memories in experiencers, harvesting their testimonies, presenting that through news and media outlets, making a profit, and leaving these vulnerable people who have powerful gifts in a confused state where they feel victimized, where they should feel empowered. And that just broke my mind. I couldn't work. I couldn't do it. I just cannot. We have a survey going with 6,000 people in the Institute. It's like a lot. There's like, this is a place where that sort of study is going to happen and move forward. And no one was talking about false memories. No one was talking about the fact that the primary case study and advisor to the WISER study that's going to interview 6,000 people right on this has no conversation about false memories and will not discuss the ethical liability of doing research like this. And I spent 9 months in conversation with the president, the provost, dean of student success, dean of my program, about these issues. And I'm like, you guys, this is nuts. We had these controversies in the 90s. We have to resolve these. The Institute has to step up and help with this. I can't be the one looking into this. Like, I need help. And I need official statements that reduce my liability. I need clarification statements. What business does Bledsoe have supervising this stuff? So I asked all these questions. They gave me some responses, no official response. And I had to go through, invent a procedure, basically. I look through all of the policies with the Dean of Student Success to actually raise this ethical issue. And I needed this ethical issue resolved because I am doing my work in a way that presumes that I will have ethical oversight from that institute. So it's like a complicated thing as to why I needed their statements on this. I finally have a 2-page statement from the provost on letterhead about these issues that basically said that, yes, I indeed raise concerns that there is a risk of harm to human subjects in research performed at that institute because of specific mechanisms that I presented studies on, right? Like that sort of thing. I like, all my literature reviews had 4.0. I had to discuss this matter. So why is it an issue when I talk to the IRB about it? Why? And that's the active question I still have. They said, hey, why don't you submit a proposal to do a project with an institute about these ethical issues? And I go, like, that'd be great, but I can't pay money if I don't believe in this stuff anymore. I need help to believe in this. Just help me out or whatever. And so we're kind of stuck. I've been granted a leave of absence, which means I can come back in good standing. Like I've been speaking in a heated way about this, but I've had communications and we're in kind of good standing and communication around this. So it's not a surprise. I've asked permission to speak on this sort of stuff. They go, fine, it's up to you, right? Like, it's politically probably not a good idea for me as an academic student to talk in this way or whatever. But at this point, it's such a big issue. Unless it's resolved, I'm not continuing my studies, and I'm forming a watchdog organization. So either I'm doing studies and working with them directly in a collaborative way, or I'm going a different path. And wow. I don't know, that all happened because of, I'll show you this. I wanted to show you this. This is my book, Liber Visionorum Xenomanticaria Magi Secretum Magnum. So you might recognize this phrase as the great secret of magic, which John Dee said was prophetic dreams. So in my work, right after Enochian, Dreamwell, my app, said, we have to go lucid dreaming. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to lucid dream again, see if I'm an expert on it, like I think, and can I do it? And so these are all lucid dreams about connecting with ETs, and they gave me a lot of information. And decoding these dreams is what gave me insight about moving forward with a ethical leave of absence and all of these things and all of these issues. And so I find it's really fascinating because in the last 4 days, I actually have an understanding that Peter Thiel has a character history that it would be appropriate to fund this kind of litigious course of inquiry. I go, this is nuts, actually. Like, it is nuts. Like, so I'm going to reach out. We'll see how it goes. Like I mentioned last year, I reached out to Bigelow. I got a 3-word response from his Consciousness Institute. and that's about it. So we'll see.
What was it? What did they say? What were the 3 words?
They acknowledge that I have raised concerns about harmful false memories in their work. So, and the fact I asked them and the fact that I'm raising this is to document the fact that accredited, I'm certified hypnotherapist. I am an experiencer. I am a PhD student in this matter. I'm the only one in an accredited institute explicitly looking at this. And I say there's risk of harmful false memories in this research as it's been done, and it needs to be addressed. And so if I raise that concern and they go, yeah, actually, we acknowledge it, from that moment on, I say they've been notified that that activity is harmful. And there is then therefore an expression or understanding of liability. So I take those 3 words as a very big win. And I take the 2-page document from the school that officially acknowledged the fact that I raised these concerns to be a huge win, even though they didn't say anything. Except, yep, you did raise these concerns. We're ethical experts. You should work with us and pay us more money to figure this out. Is like, I go, that's good enough for me. Because if someone of those 6,000 subjects of that Weiser study goes crazy like a man named Christopher Gray and commits heinous acts in the name of Chris Bledsoe, which is documented, look it up, any of your audience, right? If someone like that of our 6,000 subjects does that, I'll go, you've been warned. You've been warned. I warned you. And we'll take them to court and they will. I don't know. It's a big issue because people lose their lives in sanity because of the PSYOP activities, and academics are complacent in it. They go, yeah, sure. Okay. I'll promote you, Bledsoe. Bledsoe's an experiencer. Bledsoe knows what he's talking about. Bledsoe is an experiencer. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's a liar. So, but he does experience something. So as academics, what's our responsibility? Are we to encourage delusion to cause harm to a vulnerable population, or are we to stand up for truth and ethics? That's my question here. And I've taken a strong, because of the Enochian stuff, I was trying to figure out what happened. I opened the door to these things and asking you guys to transmute these issues. And then the veil was rended. I saw the truth. I couldn't participate in a system that unless I changed it. And now I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm so excited by the Galathog stuff and this Brown tweet, because this shows that perhaps there's a resolution of all those things I talked about within 10 weeks, within 6 months. I don't know. Next year, I'll present on the results. So.
Yeah, you've been communicating with this.
At.
You've been communicating and working with Galathog the Gray, who is, as you call him, and Galathog's a name from Enochian magic. And I can't imagine what you must have experienced to have spent so many years working closely and experiencing this being, and then to see it show up on Twitter in a whistleblower U.S. government intelligence person's expose. Like, that must have been, I can't even imagine what you must have felt seeing that happen. It just seems so like, where are we? What is this world? It's crazy.
Well, the thing was, I got drawn to that the video. It was like, it was at 4:44. I was like, I have to write a comment about this. This is nuts. And there were 333 comments on there, and 2 hummingbirds swooped at my head at that moment. And I went, oh my God, this is a sign. Galathog here, Field Guide to Anomalous Geometry, is all about anomalous body marks associated with alien abduction. So these are things that are said to be scars of abduction surgeries and things like that. Galathog this is I don't know if there's ever enough time to get into this subject, but I document several markings across different people of these things, including the hypnotist I went to for a regression for my encounters with Galathog, who then within 1 week presented a geometric body mark in line with the stuff I was getting, in line with the stuff a collaborator of mine is getting, in line with stuff that has been reported in MUFON database and through a variety of other sources that no one's gone, hey, this is a pattern. I'm going, it's a pattern. Galathog told me a pattern. So there's a sense of it's an actual thing that extends beyond people and associated with synchronicities for me. And seeing that in the post just floored me, to be honest. I'm still... I think it's actually a response. I think the world and me are in correspondence and things like that, and is a result of a magical world. I mean, seeing that Frater Aletheria is the source of that screenshot and going, oh my God, we'll be in the conference. Like, everyone I would ask to decode this is in the conference. Like, what a beautiful, what a beautiful setup. Like,
and he wasn't going to be in it, because we originally wanted to focus on people who could be there in person and celebrate the Pacific Northwest, but we don't have that many occultists in the Pacific Northwest, so we had to expand things a bit. And when I opened the door to a few remote presenters, it was actually Eleftheria's wife who messaged me on Instagram. So And you know, your wife sang a beautiful Enochian song at the end of the conference for us last year, and I just thought that was an interesting parallel as well. Both the fact that that his wife and your wife both have played a role in all of us coming together this year now, and that's fascinating. So yeah, how he came to be a part of this is quite surprising, and I was of course very thrilled because I've been following his channel and his work, and he was in an OTO lodge with a friend of mine or a former student of mine who's the big oh, we lost Daniel. He's on a sketchy internet, folks. So there we go. I don't know what to say. I'm gonna just see if he can get back in. I'm sure he'll get back in a second. But in the meantime, I will play this other quick little 2-minute video about a bonus that is being given, an academic introduction to the study of Western esotericism. I'll let the video explain it. Check this out. This is an amazing opportunity and a huge bonus to our members this year. So see you in a minute.
The Arcane Research Society proudly presents Dr. Sasha Chato's Introduction to Western Esotericism, a fully online course with over 45 hours of recorded lectures. Study at your own pace with a course guide, reading lists, and immersive activity packs. Designed for practitioners and for scholars, it's engaging yet challenging with expert support from Dr. Chato. Watch 2,000 years of esoteric history unfold, from the mystic currents of Hermetism, Neoplatonism, and Gnosticism to the alchemical fires of the Renaissance and the evolving traditions of modern occulture. Uncover hidden truths, debunk myths, and trace esoteric thought through time. With over 20 years in education, a champion of scholar-practitioner dialogue, Dr. Chato has taught this course since 2010 to hundreds of satisfied students. Get this course free with a ticket to Enochian 2025. After that, it's $1,500 Canadian dollars for Arcane Research Society members or 2,000 Canadian dollars for non-members with lifetime access.
Dr. Chato actually lives there on the Isle of Corfu in Greece, and that's what you see there in the background. So Daniel's back. He got booted by the powers that be for sharing too many top secret insights. Yeah, Sasha Chato's course is going to be an amazing 2-semester academic course added to everyone. We all get to go through it. It starts in November, and it doesn't, it's not even available. You can't do a 2-semester course, Intro to Western Esotericism, at undergrad and university anywhere. So it's quite an honor for the Arcane Research Society as we start up to host that, and we'll host more academic courses and have become a de facto extramural undergraduate program in Western esotericism. That's what we'll be, because the universities don't want to put money behind it, but we can do it independently. Because as I always say, it's not like anyone who would do a BA in esotericism. They're not doing that degree to get a specific job. They're not doing it to get an entry level corporate job in esoteric corp. Right, so we study these things because we actually want to know this stuff. So that's an exciting opportunity for everyone. And keep in mind, Canadian dollars are massively inflated. So like $500 for the conference, that's $350 US. And as you know, as a BC resident, about 150 of that goes straight to the government in my taxes. So yeah, these prices are not in US dollars. Keep that in mind, folks. And there'll be a payment plan for people who want to do her course after the free inclusion period is over with Enochian. So it's a big opportunity. I hope you guys take advantage of it and sign up to Enochian today. But yeah, great you were able to get back online out here in your dodecahedron, rolling 20s as always. But you rolled a 1, so they booted you offline.
Yep.
What?
There's 11:22, so I think that's a meaningful thing.
Oh, that is significant. Absolutely. Yeah. Where are we going with this? What is the future for humanity given these turbulent times of awakening? I don't think we're just going through an awakening. We're also going through a kind of deadening. There's a deadening of the senses, right? If you don't know what I mean by that, just check out this little thing called TikTok and you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a deadening of our senses and a signing on to, I don't know if it's mass formation psychosis or whatever you want to fancy term you want to call it, but there's a lot of people who are checking out more than ever and want to check out more than ever. A lot of people giving up on the world and just tuning into video games, and that's something we're definitely wanting to push back against with our emphasis on in-person communities, in-person events and retreats and pilgrimages and real human connections. I mean, if we don't do that, the human race will come to an end, or we'll just be grown in test tubes by our alien or robot overlords or something like that. So we have to do everything we can to come together and enjoy our life abundantly. What do you think the end game is, or the next step at least? Do you think we're gonna have the government? No, we're not gonna have the government do anything, are we? But what do you think is gonna happen after this? Like, do you think there's gonna be some sort of breakthrough in mass understanding of either spirits or UAPs or
Yeah,
or
so
something? Do you see something happening?
so a couple of reasons why I see that. One is I'm tracking scholarship about Neoplatonism and precedents for seeing a specific type of UAP. So Frater Eleftheria, check out his channel. His ET experiences are very well described. Talking about the structure, non-structure light orb thing and light beings. So his understanding of that contact is very relevant to the UAP field now. And so they're, instead of seeing flying saucers or alien spacecraft or things like that, there is a type of experiencer and experience where they're seeing light orbs and interacting with them, and the orbs themselves feel as if they are spirits. Basically, they're spirit orbs in some way, shape, or form. But the precedent I have encountered for this is Gregory Shaw's paper, like Neoplatonic theurgy and the luminous body and things like that. So there's a mention of kind of orbs and spirits and us being able to fly with the gods, basically, in these bodies. The reason why I'm connecting that with Frater Eleftheria's experience with Matthew Brown, because there's a reason why Frater Eleftheria was chosen, not just a Borimon, to chosen by Brown, at least to inform him. Let's say Brown was looking at documents on government servers, and he looked out to the public world, to the Enochian magicians here and now, for a reason. And he chose Frater Eleftheria for a reason. What is that reason? Well, I deduce is because of the way he talks about his ET encounters and his UFO encounters. Now, if you read between the lines there is a blurring between the angelic and the alien. And if you look at like John Ramirez's, another whistleblower type guy, testimony about the actual data we have about UFOs, we don't see any nuts and bolts craft except for chandeliers and jellyfish that resolve into debunked things. What the experts like John Ramirez talk about is seeing light orbs that are unexplainable. And is it a glitch in the software? Is it actually there? They don't know, but it's actually, there's a presence, like Foo Fighters or whatever. So there's actually a manifestation of these things, and people actually describe them. I don't have doubts people see them in physical waking reality, in the same way I express my doubts that the alien encounters are anything more than screen memories or hypnagogic hallucinations in specific ways. So there seems to be an actual movement of those things in this world in response to what I don't know. But the thing that I'm interested in is this track of Neoplatonism that's expressed, that went from, I don't know, Neoplatonic thought. It got destroyed in Empire, and something happened, and it comes out in John Dee. It's coming out in Matthew Brown, and it's coming out even in Chris Bledsoe's experience and stuff like that. And so there's an actual phenomenological thing that's happening in this world that doesn't involve space aliens, except by way of confusion. That's happening, and I'm excited about it because these are associated with dream encounters. They're associated with the entities one might encounter in the deeper phases of lucid dream, and these phases bring forward insight, healing, transformation, miraculous healing, miraculous ways of knowing that are once in a lifetime often. But if we look and track about the frequency and things like that, there may be things we can deduce about the human future. And I deduce a golden age, like a beautiful golden age. That's what I did. I'm very hopeful about it. I mean, I don't know. That's where I'm at. So what do you think? Where are we headed?
Yeah, everything's going so great in the world these days. How could we not be entering for a golden age? No, of course, golden ages are possible even as they emerge out of the grime and chaos. In fact, maybe that's what they need to emerge out of, right? Like plants, like the lotus growing out of the swamp, which of course is in the Bible's called, it's the lily of the valley, which is really just a flower growing out of the water, according to the actual Hebrew. I learned that recently. It's not actually the lily of the valley, which is a poisonous plant, but when it talks about the rose of Sharon or lily of the valley, it's more like a lotus it's referring to in Hebrew. So this plant that, embraced this flower that embraced Harpocrates, the god of silence, and kept him safe from the powers of darkness and from the searchers and minions of Set after he was born from Isis and Osiris. So we are in a time of crazy chaos and crazy apocalypsis, right? This is a time of apocalypsis. And so when the Enochian spirits told John Dee and Kelly that the purpose of this system was to bring about apocalypse, and they didn't say that, they just, what's the purpose of the system? And they said apocalypse. And of course, Dee being a Greek expert, or the Greek expert of his time, I can't imagine that they would say that word to him without meaning it literally, as well as in a biblical sense, because they knew he was a devout Christian and he would take it in a book of Revelation kind of way. But they also knew he was a Greek expert, and that he knew that the word apocalypse means unveiling. And in the book of Revelation, there's only one revelation, right? The book of Revelation has only one revelation, and that revelation is the unveiling of Jesus as Lord and Savior. Because if Jesus doesn't return, then there's no proof that the Christians were right. That's the theological, biblical analysis of the text that you'll learn in any seminary. And there's something to it, I think. I think there's more to it than there is in often the fundamentalist interpretations of the misnamed book of Revelations. People call it book of Revelations, and right there, you're obscuring what the book's about. It's about the singular revelation, or the singular unveiling. And what is that unveiling? But we're definitely in a time of many unveilings, I think. We're in the time of unveiling and apocalypse in general. And as much as every era has said that and thought that, we've always thought that, which is a good reason to discount that the world's actually going to end or anything's actually going to change. Well, things have already changed massively in our lifetime in a way that no one would have predicted, in a way that would traumatize someone from any other era, and in a way that's traumatizing the people of this era. Look at how the world is responding to everything going on. Look at how it's affecting people's lives. And the search for meaning has become more salient than ever, with people desperate for meaning and some sort of understanding of what's really going on. Because when things were good, we used to just be able to be complacent and start a family, buy a house, raise our kids, and sit on the porch till we die enjoying the sunshine. Well, now no one can afford to have a house or kids, or has any hope of living to a happy old age without any of those things. And I don't mean everyone, of course, but so many people that there's a massive crisis. There's a massive, massive crisis going on. And it's shocking. There's no desire to fix it by our government in Canada. right? The housing minister, who is the guy who was mayor of Vancouver and destroyed our housing market by raising it 200%. He just came out and said, yeah, we don't want housing prices to go down. Definitely not. We just want to build more expensive multi-million-dollar houses no one can afford. It's absolutely insane. So I think that the despair and the war, like, this is World War III, whether we like it or not. Hopefully it doesn't go much further, of course, but how can you not say that I think historians will look back at it as a different kind of world war, right? That's, I think, how historians will look back on it. But I think they will definitely consider it to be a form of world war. I don't know. And out of this, I think we see this, look at the interest in spirituality. I never in a million years would have thought Enochian magic would be even remotely mainstream. But then, it was in Supernatural, it was in the TV show, and it was picked up by Hollywood because it's cool. Why not? Hollywood's gonna Hollywood. And from there, it didn't stop. Now it's, government whistleblowers citing the work of our friends. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the hell? Jesus. Literally.
Yeah. Yep.
So
yeah,
that's
I have to stop myself now from going, John Dee, the 16th century mage and scholar, blah, blah, blah. And I like my paragraph of introduction to Enochian is no longer relevant. I'm not, it's like, because people get it. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So there's something there. The revelation of a Borimon is actually really it was like thematically, like what does that really mean? I can't wait to dive into that with the next podcast with PD Newman and Frater and just diving into like a Borimon, because that Frater Eleftheria described that as chaos and eighth name and sort of thematically having that revealed in the world in this system means something. Like it's actually meaningful, I find. So because oftentimes with the UFO stuff, I look to see like, yeah. Go on.
A Borman has a very tower card of the tarot feel to me. And when I ask my noose, my higher consciousness about it, it's the words I get are, destruction and change. So that is something that we definitely see. And I certainly I look forward to talking more with Eleftheria and maybe us even doing an operation around that spirit here, but with caution, of course. Some of these, you often get what you pay for in Enochian magic and in all magic. So if you try to bite off more than you can chew, or if you want to cause chaos, or if you throw yourself into magic vicariously, you're often going to unfortunately get some troubling, you might have a hard time dealing with results. That can happen. People say Enochian magic's inherently dangerous. I don't think that's true. I think people just approach it in a willy-nilly fashion oftentimes without due reverence and without sincerity. Often they're trying to test to see if something will do something or something will happen, and that's a quick way to mess yourself up, I've found. Certainly I've seen it time and time again. Every time someone's told me that they're approaching things that way, it's like you can count the minutes or hours or days until they melt down. It's like start the clock. This person's, and if they don't, that's great. Would you say, what do you think was the greatest benefit? Because we've talked about your Book of Galactic Light and your Enochian work in the past. You even had to do a burning of your tools, which happens sometimes. I recently had to get rid of a temporary table I was using and get a bigger one because spirits kept chewing me out about the improper dimensions and measurements that I used to facilitate a small apartment size table that I could work on. And eventually they're just like, you got to stop this. And I was like, fine. So what allowed you think to have such success and safety in your workings? What was it that how you approached that? What was the paradigm?
Yeah, so 7 years of preparation. So when I went to Mortlake, I came back and I had a mysterious infection in my arm. So that's 2012. It's like a mysterious infection. And I have the Monas tattooed here, and on the other side I have this like scar. and it was like a tennis ball size like bulb. I eventually got fevery, and I went to a doctor. His name was Dr. Constantine. He was literally the name of the comic book Exorcist, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, dude. It's tennis elbow." And then in the night, he realized it could have been a blood clot, so he called me like 6 times, and I was like, "You're going to die. Get to a hospital. Get to a hospital. Get to a hospital." So I wake up with that information. I get to a hospital. They cut it open, and the clock there is going 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. It just kept going 12. And the doctor was like, "This is nuts. What is this?" And she was like, "I think it's full of pus. It's an abscess." And she's like, so she cut all the way down. It was like inches in. It was disgusting. So this relates to the hygiene I'm talking about in terms of Enochian practice. This is the key to my success. Let's say. And so I got this thing, and she opened it up, and she's like, "Oh my God, this just looks like disgusting old infected blood. How did this get into your arm? Do you have cats? Did someone like take a guitar string and stab it into your arm? How did this even happen? This is magical. This is crazy. This just looks like old infected ancient blood." And so then I was like, "This is nuts. Like, what did I do over there? What did I open up? What sort of portal?" So I talked to my mentor in core shamanism, and I was like, "This is nuts." Because the doctor said, "Hey, if you get these things, they'll keep coming back, whatever. You have 50-50, who knows?" So I sought a spiritual solution to that. My shaman mentor and I did a practice to seal that off, to cut off any connections or whatever, and sort of basically said, "Hey, there's a portal that's open. I'm going to open that at the appropriate time. Not now. Get out of my life, spirits." It is the understanding. Whatever that infected blood source was get out of my life. I'll open those doors later. So fast forward to when I'm working with Dan Berg, my first missing time client. I got this information. I was like, I have to actually open that door to the spirit world to understand the nature of his experience. I have to not be afraid of whatever I closed off whatever I opened up, looking at that likely not John Dee's showstone in a British museum. Isn't that interesting, right? Like, so that was the connection there, that sense of opening to the spirit. So it doesn't actually matter what the physical thing is. That's what I'm saying about the UFOs in the sky. And that's why it's important that we pay attention to the belief cycles around things like chandeliers or Intelsat 29E, because it has an impact in our lives. And the impact I have with this misbelief about that Black Mirror versus Showstone, I opened myself up to the spirits within that thing, right? I was curious. I was willy-nilly going like, "Oh, John D, like I'll pick something up." I did. That was terrifying what I picked up. Close the door. I had to open it up and develop shamanic practices of transmuting whatever that illness infection was in the arm in order to do my missing time regression work. This is basically the spiritual understanding. And so I engaged in practices, magical practice, shamanic practices for the purpose of helping other people in my practice. That was why I opened Enochian Magic. That's the intention I charged my ritual with. In every working I do, I charge it with a collective intention for the benefit of all, in a way that I spend weeks sort of honing in and going like, is this selfish or not? Right? Like, it can be selfish, but it has to be wrapped up with a Mahayana kind of altruistic motivation. Otherwise, the spirits will eat you alive, is this sort of understanding I have personally as a mystic turned magician, right? So other people have other paths, and I'm just sharing, like, this was a lifelong, like, I spent 7 years sort of thinking about that, reading it, doing practices, whatever. And then I was willing to do it when another person who has great energy. I love this is my best friend I've made in Canada. I mean, you're probably like on the top 5, to be honest. So I haven't made a ton of friends in Canada. So it's like I wanted to be of service, right? I knew I could help. And so this Enochian magic was just as simple as like a bromance, right? Like, that's what caused me to do this. It's like a bromance between me and a good guy that likes to talk about Stephen Greer or whatever. And so I didn't do that for money. I didn't do that for fame. I didn't do it for glory. I didn't do it for whatever. It's just that. And if you have a motivation like that, the spirits will help you, I think. And to figure out that, you'll have to go do the workings yourself, or I'd say like
Yeah.
start with something simple. Just read some Enochian. That's enough. That's enough. Just like 5 words. That's enough. Sense it out. Microdose a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as we say in the Golden Dawn tradition, we always do everything with due honor and reverence to the Lord of the universe. For as the whole is greater in it than its parts, so is he far greater than we, who are as but sparks derived from that insupportable splendor. And this is the language of the Hermetica, of course. And I loved how when you were with the Codex, Codega's Codex interview of Curiosities, you mentioned the Asclepius and some of the insights in the Asclepius, which is part of the Hermetica. And of course, I just finished doing the audiobook for Dr. Litwa's Hermetica 1, which is the ultimate arrangement and translation of the Hermetica people. So go get Dr. David Litwa's Hermetica 1 if you want to see the text retranslated and arranged by an actual professor and expert in the text. And he's rearranged it all as a process of initiation, which is how I also believe it was meant to be that way. A lot of scholars think, it's just a smattering of philosophical stuff, but you can decide for yourself. Check it out. So the Asclepius insights and these ideas going back to the Hermetica, which the Hermetica believed that we're filled with daimones, with spirits, and that we have a nous, a higher consciousness that we access, which is itself a daimon, and that we are not just gods like the star gods in the sky or like angels. We are like that because we become that when we die, if we're initiated through our higher consciousness and nous into our holy daimon, and we then our soul goes with it into the afterlife, into the cosmos. Otherwise, we get recycled into nature, it seems. But we're also twice gods. We're 2 times gods, 2 times. We're also in the bodies. We're consciousness in these bodies, and we can interact with the material world in a way that spirits can't, that nothing else can. And so we're also dying gods. We're dying gods and star gods in both of those things at once. And the Hermetica text itself, this is almost 2,000 years ago, right? That these were compiled from the community of Alexandrian Hermetists, and they seem to have a real active and practical understanding of the same stuff we're talking about today. We're just using scientific UFO language, which is not necessarily any more veritable than the mystical language of these Egyptian Hellenistic Hermetists, who were pushing back essentially against Greek intellectualism and the intellectualism even of Neoplatonism. They were pushing back against that with a devotional angle, saying, no, you need to have reverence and you need to have sacrality and this holiness to be able to connect with these things. And that's interesting to me because it ties into what the kids on the telepathy tapes say about how to do all the stuff they do. They say it all comes from love. It's always love. Love is truly not just the answer, but the mechanism. And, my magical practice, that's always been the case because I'm a Golden Dawner, and we always, everything comes out of Tiferet for us, out of the heart solar plexus combination center within us. And so that lined up perfectly. But I've been paying even more special attention to love and doing things out of love and from that inner heart place. I don't know where I was going with that, but there you go. That's what I think.
I think love is the answer for it all. That's the answer to a lot of the missing time experience too. People go like, I'm so
really?
scared. And then it's like, yeah, it's crazy. I love it so much. That's one of the reasons why I do it. Everyone thinks it's like scary gray aliens here to steal your sperm and eggs or whatever. Sometimes people report that, but most of the time people are terrified of the experience. They go, oh, it was just a visitation of star family or soul family. They love me so much. It was too hard for me to hold that amount of love at the time in my life. And so they helped me forget it. And now I'm remembering it because I have these different capacities in my life to receive that much love and not want to kill myself and be with there, or what basically is what they say. So I think that's interesting. I'm not sure if that finding other hypnotists would find that finding with their subjects, but I think it's more prevalent than we might expect with the people who are questioning whether or not they're abductees.
God, so we don't need to. We won't go too long today because we're gonna have a big roundtable thing with these other guys coming up very soon, and so I don't want to exhaust the subject. Not that we could, but maybe we can tie a ribbon on it with anything else you want to say. But also, I think people would love to hear about what you're gonna be addressing and talking about at the conference. And we finally get to meet. We can actually be in the Best Friends Club once we've had a hug.
That's
I
great.
think.
Yes,
It's
that's
very
right.
exciting. Yeah. Yeah, it's, and to have you addressing these things and talking about these things with, Eleftheria on the Zoom, and people like Aaron Leach, the other discoverer of Aborimon, and even Justin Sledge and Dr. Terry Burns, all present to discuss and debate this. It's going to be a freaking hoot and a half, as my mother would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be quite fun. So what do you have in store for EnochiaCon this year? Why should people sign up and register and be a part of it online or in person? And what else, what other thoughts and feelings do you want to leave everyone with on this beautiful Wednesday?
Yeah, so this is my title will be Decoding the UAP Disclosure with Enochian and Dreams. That's sort of the idea we'll be talking about. This is kind of a precursor preview to that.
I just realized are you decoding or decoding?
With two E's.
Really? It is. I
Yeah.
didn't notice that. I just heard it for the first time. Decoding.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, the difference for me, I mean, people use the word DE code sometimes. That is a pun sort of thing. The idea is the difference between like encrypted meaning, right? This is encrypted meaning is a decoding. You decode an encrypted message. There's one answer to that encryption because you use the key like an algorithm on the string of characters. But to decode something, this is my idea, is that you do something much more generative, and is sort of occult kind of illusions, significances, that sort of thing. And so for me, there's like in terms of interpreting dreams, there's some people say there's one answer to a dream, but no, ethics, dreamwork ethics is that you can interpret any number of ways. And so the idea here is decoding the like brown stuff or anything else that comes up with UAP disclosure and these codes or whatever, and learning how to work with that in multiple different ways. And so that's dreamwork practice. So I'll be talking about the synergy between all of these. I'll be giving updates about the working of the transmutation of the 4 traumata of alien abductions into the 4 empowerments of shamanic dreamwork. So that's spelling out some of the stuff that's happened. And I'm hoping, we've seen a lot of action in terms of this unfolding UAP narrative thing. I'm hoping there'll be 1 or 2 more twists and turns to report on. So yeah, that's where we're going.
I'm on mute. I'm muted, and you froze. That was funny. Okay, Daniel has frozen there. I just want to say thanks everyone for being here. It looks like the internet kicked out Daniel, so that's okay. That's it. We are sort of good timing. But if you have any questions for him, you can put them there in the chat. He might pop back in for a minute or two. I don't know if he's trying to. But if you want to throw any super chats our way to help pay for the expensive StreamYard streaming software, it's quite an expense. And I do want to keep live streaming podcasts and things like this. But yeah, it's I definitely need your support to do that. So that would be great. But the conference is coming up. Consider signing up for EnochiaCon, and we're going to do the roundtable with Eleftheria, PD Newman, and Daniel Rekshan, and that's going to be fun. We're going to do that on the podcast here coming up soon, so hopefully you'll be able to tune in for that. And of course, there's links below for Daniel Rekshan's work and his books, and that would be yeah, worthwhile checking out if you're interested in all of this stuff. So without much further ado, I think we will leave it there for today. Here's a one last little video reminder of what you can expect from Enochian. But if there's any questions and Daniel pops back in while this is playing, then we'll address the questions after the video plays. Otherwise, I'll sign off. So stick around for a minute, and hopefully, yeah, you'll want to be a part of what we're pioneering up here in Canada, but also around the world online. Cheers.
Canada's only occult conference returns this July 11th to 13th. Enochian is an opportunity to come together with leading scholars of esotericism and practitioners of Western occultism in a friendly and open environment in Vancouver, Canada. This year in 2025, with presentations by an amazing group of presenters, including Dr. Justin Sledge, Dr. Terry Burns, Father Aaron Leach, Dr. Sasha Chato, Frater Eleftheria of Lifting the Lamp, Dr. David Litwa, Chris Trenholm, Daniel Rekshan, David Rankine, Ike Baker, and P.D. Newman. You can also attend live online and experience premier presentations of cutting-edge research and discoveries, and experience beautiful British Columbia. Register to become a member, and you also get included 2 upcoming winter workshops and access to Dr. Sasha Chato's phenomenal year-long undergraduate level course to introduce you to the academic study of Western esotericism. This is not even available at universities at the undergraduate level, but will be included now for everyone who registers to Enochian 2025 before July. Tarry not and sign up today. Go to enochiacon.com or arcaneresearchsociety.com for more information.
Oh, great. So Daniel's back, pop back in online for the proper farewell. No Irish exit here. Nope. We'll do a formal farewell and just thanks everyone for being here. Yeah, any final thoughts or feelings to bookend this, or messages you want to leave people with? It's a last chance, people, to give us a question for Mr. Rekshan, or send us a donation by super chat or whatever. So yeah, final words, good sir.
Oh, just encouragement to connect with us at Enochian. I'm absolutely excited for it. Like, I'm so excited about it. I'm very excited. I'm happy it exists. Happy I'm going. Happy you invited me. I'm like very excited. Is in person. This is probably my second in-person major conference thing or whatever I've done since COVID. So like, I'll be a little bit weird socially or whatever. I haven't worked that one out of my system. I'm in like living in the woods, but I think that'd be an enjoyable situation. So if y'all make it down to Vancouver, well, I'll hang out, and or online, that would be great too, since we connect online. So yeah, it's just thank you for having me, and thanks for opening this space, and really excited.
My pleasure. I mean, if we don't build it, who will? And life's short, so we gotta live our dreams while we have a chance to, and it's gonna be a fun time in beautiful Vancouver, and the having interaction from the online community is also really, really great. We're building up towards doing this in Prague in 2027, which the notable people who have already said they'll appear there include some occultists who have never been public, but are well known. But they're like, oh no, I'd let myself be seen for this. So that's really exciting. But the only way we'll get to those bigger events down the road is if we put in the work now to get the word out. So even if you can't attend, lovely listener or viewer, if you can't attend, you probably know someone who would love to attend. So spread the word, help us get it out, because the algorithm's not always kind to us. We don't always get to have a viral Enochian moments like the recent one that we discussed here today. It can be very hard to advertise, and of course posters and flyers have gone up all around Vancouver, and hopefully will galvanize the sleepy Pacific Northwest into taking some action and actually get, especially if you're a cultist or esotericist in the Pacific Northwest, if you don't attend this stuff, it won't last. That's a fact. I can only support it for a few years on my own. And after that, I'll probably need to start saving for retirement or something like that, especially the way the economy's going. You know, so do your best, spread the word. You can help us by sharing this stuff. Just share it, and that'll do the trick. That's all it takes. And Daniel, man, it's so good to see you, and it'll be so great to actually get to hang out with you in person. And
Yeah, you too.
don't worry, I wouldn't worry about being socially awkward. It's you know, we're not a huge group. We're still a fledgling group, and so it'll be a fun, tight, intimate affair with lots of time for breaks in between. The breaks I scheduled between the talks are good enough for everyone to really have fun with each other and also experience the city a little bit. So it's going to be an absolute blast. And yeah, we'll wrap it up there because I have non-stop work. I'm up every day at 4:30, 5:30, 6 a.m. doing stuff now. It is crunch time. So if anyone wants to support or help, who's local to Vancouver or British Columbia, let me know. Reach out, go to arcaneresearchsociety.com and get in touch. Or yeah, that's how you do it. And very exciting. So no questions, no last questions. I think we've overwhelmed people enough for now, and we'll move on to setting up this epic four-way with you, me, PD Newman, and Eleftheria, and that'll be interesting. Maybe even
Awesome.
Aaron will want
Awesome.
to jump in for 15 minutes and talk about Aboramon. For sure, it's crazy stuff. So, all right, I have to get back to it, and so do you in your little 20-sided dice that you're sitting in the woods. It's not too hot there. Not too hot. In the tent?
No, I'm set up in. No, I'm set up in a cedar grove, basically, so it's nice and cool.
Yeah.
Everywhere else is hot.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Well,
I'd
thanks
love to
again.
come visit and get out your way. You're only 9-hour drive away, which is a short distance in Canada, unfortunately.
Yeah. Next year, I'm hoping to do some retreats or something. So we'll talk about it, like some
That would be
interesting
fun.
C5 sort of practice retreat.
I'm sure I could get at least one or two friends willing to drive out for a little camping trip to do some stuff with you, for sure. You know, we should do it while it's legal.
Cool.
Before the government changes its mind on making certain things illegal. We'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Peace and love, my friend. Have a great day, and all the best to your lovely wife, and have a good one. Thanks for listening, everybody. Keep your screen browser open so that your recording can upload to the software. Thank you very much, and yeah, we'll see you guys soon.